The San Jose Sharks make a trade today, acquiring Timothy Liljegren from the Toronto Maple Leafs for Matt Benning and picks. We break it down on a special Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Western Conference Tuesdays on the Locked On NHL channel. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day, or sometimes twice a day in this case. So if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And we're going to be doing a special kind of 15 minutes or so breaking down the Sharks acquiring Timothy Liljegren from the Toronto Maple Leafs, why it makes a ton of sense from the Sharks, what they're getting in him. And again, Mike Greer just making little just savvy moves here. So before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start each season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So the Sharks acquire defenseman Timothy Liljegren from the Toronto Maple Leafs. The terms of the trade: Sharks get Liljegren. The Leafs get Matt Benning, a 2025 third-round pick that is conditional. We'll hold on to that 1 second. In 2026 sixth-round pick. The Sharks have 2 third-round picks, Edmonton and Colorado, and the Leafs will get basically the better of the 2 picks. Both those picks are expected to be in the late third round, as both those teams are expected to be playoff teams. So you're probably trading like a pick in the 80s, to be honest, late 70s, or pick in the 80s or 90s, most likely, what you're trading for Timothy Liljegren. Liljegren's got 2 years left, including this year on his deal at $3 million a season, and will be scheduled to be a UFA after the 2025-2026 season. So Liljegren, if you don't know, he was a former first-round pick, 17th overall in the 2017 NHL draft. And he's played with the league, basically kind of jumped straight into the AHL. He's been over North America, came over from Sweden, been over North America as kind of like one of those, since they're from Europe, they can come straight over and play in the AHL at the age of 18. And he's been kind of one of those guys I think that a lot of Leafs fans have been a little frustrated with, because I don't know if his role kind of fits his strengths and weaknesses. So let's dig into Liljegren here a little bit more. So 6'1", 201 pounds. Last year, he played 55 games for the Leafs, had 3 goals, 20 assists, 62 shots on goal, played 1940 average time on ice. Corsi for 49.25. So when he was on the ice, the Leafs took 49.25% of the shots. Goals for 52.69%. So Liljegren's really kind of known for his kind of two-way game. Probably leans a little bit more offensively. Did set a career high in points last year with 23 points. And 62 shots on goal, not really like a ton. I know they have a lot of mouths to feed, and that feels like a big opportunity for Liljegren here on a Sharks offense. I think that where he will have a little bit more freer role. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But looking at his evolving hockey card, even strength offense, he would basically kind of play between first and second pairing minutes, played on the power play as well. Expected goals above replacement was really solid. Goals above replacement kind of below, so there's an opportunity for growth there. Good on defense and goals above replacement, expected goals above replacement. played a little bit of shorthanded, and I don't think that's going to be kind of his big role with the Sharks, especially with the other defensemen they have. As when his spot, he was kind of a 58th percentile defenseman, 57th percentile offensively, 61st percentile defensively. So really solid kind of two-way defenseman. If you look at his usage chart from Dauber Prospects, he got a lot of offensive zone deployment against okay-ish competition, like good competition, but they get a lot of offensive zone. Again, the Leafs, right? They're usually play in the offensive zone, and you probably would have expected a little bit more out of him, and I think that's where kind of is it with him, is he getting the right opportunities, is he playing with the right player? Like there's a lot of different stuff that goes into that, but he did, maybe a little bit under kind of wasn't maybe performing up to expectation. He also keep that with his expected goals, like kind of below where his actual goals were when he was on the ice. Looking at all three zones, kind of his usage models and kind of where his strengths and weaknesses are. General offense, again, kind of a little bit below expected last season. Not his passing, good at kind of creating passes from the center lane and high danger assists. Very good, or created a lot of zone entries last year. Maybe not as many controlled zone entries as you would want, but very good at getting the puck out of his zone and getting it going the other way. And I think that's an area of need for the Sharks, right? We talked about that with Jake Wallman, what he's expected to do. When Shakir Mukhamadullin makes his jump up, kind of like those are the areas that the Sharks struggle at. And now the Sharks might actually be able to have a defenseman on all three pairings who could be able to actually get the puck out of the zone here. So that's kind of looking at his stats and what he will bring to, it's kind of what was kind of expected of Timothy Liljegren. So we're going to kind of talk more about why it makes sense, where he kind of fits in, why I think this was a really solid trade, and why you shouldn't worry about the third round pick, because third round picks are overrated. So we'll get to all that here in just 1 second. Ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right. Again, thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your second listen or your first listen. When you're done with this one, if you haven't checked out Colin Graff interview, go check out that one. Or you can go check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. So if your fantasy hockey team needs some help, they got you covered there. Who to pick up on the waiver wire, who to target in trades, who that you may just need to drop. They got you covered. So go check them out wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. So we know kind of what Liljegren's a solid two-way defenseman. He's really good at getting the puck out of his own zone, which is something the Sharks continue to kind of chip away at, and as they need help there, right? Jake Wallman, that was kind of the big thing when they acquired him, what he could help do. You've seen guys like Jack Thompson when he's in. Shakir Mukhamadullin, like known for his puck carrying abilities, and now you have the potential of having a guy on all three pairings who can carry the puck out of the zone. And over the past couple games, you've seen the Sharks doing a little bit better at that. And I think this is really going to help them in that department. And I hope this isn't the Kalen Addison type of trade where Addison, like last year, right? Sharks, right around this time, Sharks acquired Kalen Addison. And with the hopes of like, we need someone to run our power play. We need someone to kind of get the puck out of the zone. And Addison was okay. But I think there with Liljegren, there's one, a little bit more stock there with him as a former first round pick. Two, just much bigger sample size as Liljegren has played way more NHL games than Kalen Addison. He pulling it back up now. Liljegren's got like 3 seasons of NHL games under his belt, while Kalen Addison not as much. So yeah, almost basically 200 games for Liljegren. He's only played 1 game this year, and I think coming back from an injury for him, but should be ready to go for the Sharks now. But if you look at the pairings, right, you have Wallman Cece. I think it's been a good combo. The Ruda Ferraro has not been my favorite because neither one of those guys are strong puck carriers, right? So now you can potentially split that pairing up. And if you have a Liljegren Ferraro pairing, and those guys can, like, I think that's probably the pairing. And then you can either go some combination of Thompson, Thrun, Ruda as your third pairing, whether it's Ruda Thompson, Ruda Thrun, or if you want to put the kids together, Thrun and Thompson, which I would do. But it just gives you more flexibility. Now you also have somebody else who can help on the power play. I still think Wallman's going to be the power play 1 quarterback. We'll see, because he hasn't really done it. He's been kind of the power play 2 guy with Thompson leading the way. Maybe Liljegren gets the first crack at it, or gets a crack at it eventually, kind of once he gets settled in here. But I think for the Sharks, like this is a really good trade for them. Matt Benning clearly just didn't look like him's the same player as he was pre his injury last year. And for the Maple Leafs, right, Liljegren, like he dealt when it comes to the playoffs, Liljegren sees his ice time cut because he's 6'1" and 200 pounds, and does have trouble against the forecheck a little bit. Sharks don't have to worry about that right now. I think for Liljegren, this is a buy low opportunity for a guy who has been dangled out there for a while, needs a new change of pace or new scenery here. And I think the Sharks can give him that. And 2 years, like you basically have 2 seasons with him to try to do something. You can flip him at the trade deadline next year if he's playing well, but you don't feel like he's going to be part of your long term, especially if Mukhamadullin and Thompson, and if you feel like Sam Dickinson's right, like you if you feel like your options are kind of up and coming, Luca Cagnoni, you could potentially flip him, or you could re-sign him. Like there's a lot of opportunities for here. So I feel like this is a really nice buy low, not buy low, but nice kind of take a guy who wasn't getting the opportunities that he probably needs from another place, stick him in your kind of group and see what happens with him. And I will say again, give it some time, because we don't know how guys respond when they get traded. Fabian Zetterlund, remember, we were all like, what did we get with Fabian Zetterlund? Because the first 20 games or whatever, like after he got traded, he was absolutely terrible. Now we all love Fabian Zetterlund, and right, like give him some time. Like it might take a little bit for him to get adjusted, even though it feels like he's been ready to move on. And he's probably pretty happy to get a fresh start here. But again, just give him a little bit of time to kind of get acclimated. Yeah, overall, I think it's great. I know people like, well, you gave up a 3rd round pick. Like you can manufacture 3rd round picks. The Sharks are going to manufacture 3rd round picks at the trade deadline. Like it's fine. Like at some point you can spend all your 3rd round picks on draft players, but you got an NHL player right now. NHL player who has a little bit of like, maybe there's still something there. And if not, he's a really solid two-way defender right now, who's going to help you in the short term, because you got the better player between Matt Benning and Liljegren. You got the better player. And then like third round picks, again, like if you trade, you have Nico Sturm, Clean Cost is not getting anything, but you have Nico Sturm, Luke Cunnin, Mikael Granlund, but that's a discussion for a different day. Cody Ceci, if you want to trade him, like Ruda, if you want, like, you're going to be able to continue to get more draft picks. I do not care about the third round pick, and I care even less about the 6th round pick in the 2026 draft. I just like, we as fans we care about the picks more than I think the GMs do, because when you get to the draft, the GMs are just slinging picks around like they're going out of business to move up and down the board. Like, it's fine. The Sharks if they want more third round picks, they'll be able to generate more third round picks. It's not an issue. So, but yeah, overall, I feel really great about this trade. Kind of taking a chance on a guy who cost controlled. Leafs also saved some money. I think that was another thing too. Going from $3 million to Matt Benning's like 1.25 gives them a little bit more cushion there. You can bring up some other guys or do whatever you need to do with their roster and their cap, which is always very tight right now. But love this trade. Love the idea of just having 3 puck moving defensemen on, like, anytime there's out there should be a puck moving defenseman. I don't see how it makes sense. So that's going to be it for me today. Again, we want to keep this kind of short, just give you the nice breakdown of what the Sharks are getting with Timothy Liljegren, why it makes a ton of sense, why I love this trade for San Jose. As you're trying to solve weaknesses on your team, and I think Liljegren is going to help solve a weakness for the Sharks. So we'll be back tomorrow. Again, if you haven't checked out the Colin Graff interview, go do that. It's in your feed already. Make sure you follow along wherever you get podcasts, and of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter at Mike Fryhole. Go Cuda, you bandwagon 5 in a row, guys. Cuda our wagon. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.